Explained by an accountant. Should you buy, lease, or finance a new car? The decision of whether to finance or lease an automobile is surprisingly contentious. On the one hand, you may believe that purchasing a car is the ideal option because it gives you full control of the vehicle and is less expensive in the long term. On the other hand, you may believe that leasing is a fantastic choice because it allows you to spend significantly less in monthly payments while driving a brand new car. After conducting a full analysis and running the numbers on all of the various possibilities, I was pleasantly pleased by what I discovered and the difference in savings between what a car dealership attempts to sell you and what is actually the cheapest option. So in this video, we'll go through 4 of the most common ways to buy a car, what they are, which one is the cheapest, and finally the psychological considerations to consider. This video is part of a series of Accountant Explains videos in which we address all aspects of personal finance and wealth creation. Part 1. What are the primary alternatives? The first method of purchasing an automobile is to buy it outright. If you pay the whole amount of the car on the first day, you won't have to worry about any payments or interest in the future. It's really simple. The second method of purchasing a car is through finance, which is typically known as hire purchase in the UK and works similarly to a personal loan. So you pay a deposit towards the automobile, you borrow the remaining money at a fixed interest rate for an agreed term, say 3 years, and then you make monthly repayments over the 3 years, and at the end of that period, you own the car. The third option is to use a lease, which is similar to renting in that you make monthly payments to use the car. And at the end of the contract, you return the car. Monthly payments are computed slightly differently here than in the finance and hire purchasing options. You're paying off the entire value of the car because you'll own it in the end. You just pay a portion of the car's cost if you lease it. And it is for this reason that the car depreciates during the time you own it. The sum is then divided into monthly installments, with certain fees added on top. The fourth option is PCP, which involves setting a term for the agreement, paying a deposit, and then the firm providing a final value for the car and what it will be worth at the conclusion of the agreement. These are then removed from the cost of the car to determine the amount of the loan and the monthly payment. With the PCP, you have a few options at the end of the contract. You can choose whether to keep the car and pay the final value. You have the option of returning the car. You can also use the final value to trade in the car. Now that we've addressed the fundamentals, let's look at the financial consequences and costs of each of these. So, in order to compare apples to apples, I conducted this analysis using an average medium-sized family automobile. So the Audi A3 is priced at $30,000. Why did I choose this particular car model? Because of the showroom. It's only around the corner from where I live. So I went in and double-checked all my figures and picked their brains for 3 hours straight on a beautiful Saturday afternoon, so you didn't have to. To keep things as comparable as feasible, I'm utilizing a 15% deposit, or $4,500, and a 3-year term for each of these options. The increased purchase was the first finance option we discussed. So I put down a down payment. I was quoted an interest rate of just about 11%. My monthly payments for a 3-year term will be $810 per month. That means the total cost of the car at the end of the contract is slightly less than $34,000. And I now have complete ownership of the vehicle. Assume I now wish to sell the car. Looking at comparables on the market, I'm going to say I can get $16,000 for it. On the other hand, online. This car 3 years ago was going for a lot more than this extra £20,000. However, I don't think this is an appropriate depiction of what we can receive for the car in 3 years because second-hand car values are currently skyrocketing. And I don't think this will last for the next 3 years. This bubble, I believe, will break before then. So, if I sold the car for that much, it would have cost me around $17,500 to own the car for 3 years. The next method we discussed was leasing an automobile. In the lease option, assuming the same deposit, the monthly payments are $345, which is significantly lower. Then there's the finance hire buy option, which is calculated solely on a portion of the automobile and has no interest. So, in this situation, the car would have cost me roughly $17,000 for 3 years. You may have the opportunity to buy the automobile at the conclusion of the lease term, but this is not guaranteed, and you won't know how much the dealership will give you for it until the last few months of the lease term. In contrast to the following choice, the PCP, this is the most popular, or, the one that the majority of people choose. One of the reasons for this is that the vehicle dealership encourages you to select this one because it is the most profitable for them. However, if you only consider the total cost of ownership, it may not be the best option for you. Let's run the figures while making the same deposit. They estimate that this car will be worth $15,000 in 3 years. as a result of my deposit. My monthly payment would be $453, based on the agreed-upon car value of $15,000 and an interest rate of just under 11%. If I opt to return the automobile at the conclusion of the contract, it will cost me around $21,000 to keep the car for 3 years. And if I had instead chosen to keep the car and pay the remaining payment of £15,000, the total cost of the car would have been £36,000. You can see from the numbers on this car that if I went with the PCP option at the end of the contract and returned the car, I would have been better off just going with the leasing option. It could have saved my life. Almost 4,000 people the vehicle dealership will try to sell you a PCP because it is the most profitable for them. They gain the most money from it since it encourages you to stay with them and upgrade your automobile when your contract expires. So they continue to profit from you. They would also try to alter the numbers by leveraging dealer contributions or slightly increasing the deposit to entice you to choose the PCP option. It may be the best solution for you in some instances. It may work out better because you're obtaining a car that will keep its value and/or you want more freedom, but it's also necessary to calculate the whole cost of the automobile. And want to emphasize this point even more. If I decided to keep the car at the end of the contract, I would have been better off choosing the higher purchase option. That would also have saved me money. The other option we discussed was purchasing the automobile outright for $30,000. If we accomplished this and assumed we could sell it for $16,000 on the used market, this would be the lowest choice. At $14,000 for 3 years of ownership. However, a crucial consideration here is the opportunity cost. If you put $30,000 in on the first day, it's locked up in the automobile. The alternative is that if you have $30,000 and have paid the $4,500 deposit and have enough money left over to invest in something like the S&P 500 or another cash-generating asset, the question is whether you can get a greater return. Other considerations to consider besides the added cost of a financing option include psychological factors. If you tend to keep your cars for a long time, opting for a higher purchase price is a better option. This means you may pay off your car and avoid the worry of needing to keep up with your monthly payments. And you own the car outright, so you can do whatever you want with it. You could drive it as far as you wanted, but any maintenance bills would fall on you, and these prices tend to add up the longer you own a car. On the other hand, choosing the lease or PCP option allows you to get a newer car with lower monthly payments and to change your car more frequently without worrying about whether or not you'll be able to sell the car in the future and for how much. You also don't have to worry about continuous maintenance in this instance if you keep trading in the automobiles before the warranty expires, which is normally around the 3-year mark. However, you must keep the automobile in excellent condition or you will be paid a surcharge when you return it, and there are additional restrictions when it comes to the PCP or lease. That includes the modifications you can make to the vehicle as well as the number of kilometers you can drive it. If you exceed that mile limit, you will be charged an extra fee per mile. If you have the money to buy a car entirely, this is a good alternative because you won't have to worry about monthly payments. If you choose this route, unless you are really certain in your when it comes to cars, if you can sell them for a profit, buying a used car that is 2 to 3 years old and has already depreciated significantly at someone else's expense may be the best option. So, hopefully, this video gave you some ideas for things to think about and how to run the numbers for yourself to determine which path you want to take. This analysis has been completed because you are purchasing a car as an individual rather than a company or through a business. If you found this video useful, please share it. Financial education and financial literacy are extremely important. I'd also like to know how you got your automobile, how you got the one you presently drive if you have one, and how you plan on getting your next car. Thank you for viewing, and I hope to see you again in my next video. Thanks for watching.